All right, guys, welcome to the lab demonstration of part 2 to the blood smear videos. And in this video series, you're going to see a assortment of different clips that I have done while working in the laboratory using one of our microscopes and the AmScope software. So what you're going to see in this presentation is me gathering a slide from one of many and putting it onto the microscope, setting the microscope at the proper settings, and being able to analyze the slide and taking a closer look at the sample that might be present on the platform. I'm then going to switch the magnification of the microscope for 3 different settings. And then in the software, I'm going to show you how you go through and take a picture of the image that is showing up with our microscope camera. So you're going to learn a little bit about the microscope, and you're also going to learn a little bit about the software that makes the thing operate. So without wasting any more of your time, I'm just going to go ahead and get right to the laboratory clips. So once more, be my lab partner. And then what will happen is that at some point in time, based on your course schedule, we would like for you to come into the lab just for a minute and then analyze some of these slides yourself. So that way you can take your own pictures, get familiar with the microscope, and learn a little bit more technology within the chemical technology program. All right, guys, this is our microscope that you probably are going to use when you do your blood slide analysis. So keep in mind that in this lab activity, you are going to be analyzing a few pre-made slides that are blood smears. And those slides are actually going to be found in a blue crate like this, or something similar. At least it might not be the same color, but it's going to be a nice box. And inside of the box, you're going to have all of these slides that are numbered and labeled, and we're going to have to analyze them to see if they are maybe blood samples from a human suspect or a victim. Because this is forensics, right? Again, it's not biology, but we've got to put a forensic spin on it in some form or fashion. So this is our microscope that you're seeing here in the screen. Up here at the top, this is an eyepiece area. It's just really right off the screen almost. And that's what you normally would look through with your own eyeballs. But I hate those types of microscopes. And what you're seeing here is a actual camera that is connected to our computer screen, so that way we can open up some software and we can look at a computer monitor instead of through the eyepiece to see our view. So that's going to help us a little bit because we're going to have to analyze a lot of slides, and that can make some eye strain on you if you're not very careful with these microscopes, or if you've got to look at them all day every day. So it's nice and convenient. Other things about the microscope that you're seeing here, first off is the big knob over here to the side. This big knob here with this particular microscope is just black on the outside. That can actually turn, and what you're seeing is that the platform itself is moving up and down, and it's very rapid. So this is our major adjustment lens. So we can raise the platform up or lower it down quickly in order to zoom in or zoom out of our slides. This blue knob in front is actually a different dial, and this is a fine tune. So you're actually seeing this also is moving it up and down, but very gradually. It is very sensitive. It does little bitty baby steps at a time. So this is the major adjustment, and that is the minor adjustment there. Often what happens is that we work with the big knob first, and we get it to a point where we think we can see the samples under the microscope, and then we shift over to the minor adjustment, and we will fine tune that microscope into that image to clear it up a little bit better. All right. Next up is the platform itself. So this silver piece that you're seeing right here, this is where the slide will end up going. So for instance, here is a blood slide that I need to analyze maybe. And what I will do is I'll lay the slide down just like this. It doesn't really matter which end that you do. We've labeled one side, but you know, we're going to have to shift it around and make sure that it's going to work the proper way anyway. There's a clip, you probably can't see it in the video on the back side here, that I'm going to push my thumb against, and that microscope slide will fit on the edge, 90-degree angle right here, and that clip somewhat holds it into place. So when we load the slide on, then what will happen is that we will make sure that that slide, or the sample on the slide, is underneath the microscope lens. And to do that, those are the purposes of the two buttons here, or the two dials here. So again, the bigger one on top will take it backward and forward, so that way I can position the sample directly under the lens of the microscope. And then the dial down below is a left hand adjustment and a right hand adjustment. So I've got movement in all four of those directions, so that way I can line up my sample underneath the lens the proper way. All right. And then finally, the next thing that I want to talk about is the turret. And here's our turret. This just switches, and you just grab a hold of it and turn. And each one of these lenses has the magnifying power stamped on the lens. And what I like to do first is start off with the most zoom out. And that's our lower number of a 4. And then this lab activity is going to make you turn and then go to the next step. And then it's going to make you turn and go to the next step. And then the fourth magnifying lens you will not use. And that fourth one is our highest power, and that highest power is a 100. But that very often requires a little bit of oil in order to get the lens down that close in order to see a picture. So that's kind of an overview of the microscope. And here in a minute, I'm actually going to line up a slide for you, so that way you can see what to do when you come into the lab. And again, you maybe can do a few at a time and come in and there off and on, but that's up to you and your schedule. But we'll go through at least one motion of a sample.
All right, guys, so a few pictures I want to share. This is what a camera looks like a little closer up. At the eyepieces traditionally of a microscope. And again, we just think that this is a little more convenient. It's better. It's coming from the software. It's getting saved on computers. You can save images. You can save video. It just really depends on what you're looking for and what your needs are. But just a simple little USB camera, nothing fancy with it at all, that gets connected directly to our computer and feeds that information into the software that helps operate the microscope. When you walk into the lab, you're going to find a box of microscope slides. It might not be in a box like this, that is a blue box at least, but it will be something similar. You'll see some slides on the inside. They'll be labeled. It will say blood smear unknown 1 through whatever. And then what we've done, like I've said in the previous video that you watched, is that we have tried to write top on the top side of the slide for you. We don't want your fingers all over these slides to kind of feel around where those samples might be. Do I have the top of the slide? Do I have the bottom of the slide? So I have written the word top on the top piece of the slide, and that is the piece that needs to go toward your lenses. So just keep that in mind when you begin to pull these slides out. Pay attention to that labeling, because we did that for a reason. All of these blood slides will be very similar. It will just be one microscope slide. Again, we'll have the unknowns listed here, and this tag will often go to the left-hand side. That's the way that we've put the stickers on them. And once more, you will see the word top written above the blood smear in the lab when you get there, so that should face up on the microscope platform. All right. Okay, so let's kind of turn back to a couple of more videos. Here's another one that's going to give you a little more close-up of the turrets.
So I'm going to put a microscope slide on the microscope. Yay! All right. So normally what I do again is lay the microscope slide flat on the surface of the platform. Also keep in mind there is a legit back side and a front side of the slide. So I want to make sure that the information where it says blood smear unknown number 10 on this slide, for instance, that label is on the side that needs the lens. So that means make sure that that faces up. So it's faced up. And then on the platform, I'm going to take this clip, and again, I'm going to push the lever back. And then I'm going to take the slide and I'm going to slide it on the back side of that platform against this kind of stainless steel piece on the corner. And it fits into the corner at a 90-degree angle. It's very easy to kind of snap into place. And that clip holds it there, so that way the slide does not move around. Next up, I want to make sure that I am on the lens that says 4, because that is our lowest magnification that we can do on this microscope. So I'm going to switch it around and it will lock in place. It'll kind of snap, still freely moving, but it will snap. I'll hear it, I feel it. And that lens needs to be directly above the sample. If it's not, then I'm fighting a losing battle because I'll never see an image. So again, what will happen is that I want to move this slide around, so these black knobs on the top, forward and backward, and then the knob on the bottom will go left and right. And I can somewhat see the light bulb underneath the microscope slide, and as long as the bulb is directly below the sample, then that means the lens is probably going to be there as well. Then the next thing that I like to do is I like to take the platform now and go all the way up, as at least as close as I can get to it without cracking the lens. So the 4 I'm not going to have a problem with. It's a very short lens. When I switch this over to the 10, you can see that that is much lower. So it's still not going to come in contact though. I'm pretty safe with the 10. And then when I switch this around to the next slide, look at this. That lens actually is going to come in contact with the microscope slide. I cannot do that. It will damage the slide and damage the sample. So I'm going to have to lower the platform down and then switch my lens over and then start from there. So this is the one that you've got to watch out for, and that one is actually going to be the 40, and that is going to be the highest power lens that we're going to be using. So we've got a 4, a 10, and a 40. We do not do anything with the 100. So I'm going to switch it back to the 4 and look at my slide. My sample, I can see the sample on the slide, is directly above the bulb, which means that's a good position. And then I'm going to raise the platform up as close as I can before I begin the magnification.
All right, guys. So I think it's important to know that everyone uses a microscope in a different way. And this is just the way that I have become comfortable with using them. So my method and my process might be a little bit different than someone else's, or maybe yours. Once you get in there and play around with the microscope, you will find what works best for you. And for me, this is what works best when I begin playing around with microscopes and looking at slides. I just felt that raising that platform all the way up to the top, starting with the lowest magnification always first, and then trying to find that sample in that kind of zoomed out lens perspective always kind of kept me in the ballpark of where I need it to be. And then I would increase the magnification as needed, and then I would adjust the platform as needed once I kind of pinpoint that very first one. I do think that the 4 is the easiest to view in the very beginning, and then I also think that as we go closer and closer and closer, sometimes it's a little more difficult to get things in focus. But once more, this is just me using my method when I get onto the microscope. Here's another picture of the microscope slide, and this is the clip that you're seeing here at the very bottom that is holding the slide in place. So once more, on one side, that slide is actually in the 90-degree cutout angle of that metal piece that you're seeing here. And on the left-hand side, when we're using the microscope, that clip secures it into place. And that's really what we're wanting. So that way it doesn't move around when we move the platform. Here's another picture that is the 4 magnification lens that's directly above the blood slide. You can see there's a lot of space here in between the lens and the slide. I don't have to worry about damaging it or having it come in contact with it. I'm then going to turn the turret and go to the 10, and once more you can see how much closer that lens now is to the slide. So I want to be kind of aware of those motions when I begin using the slides and the microscope. And then finally, I'm going to turn it one more time to the 40 and notice, look at this. I had to raise the platform down a little bit and it still comes almost in contact with the slide itself. So once more, be very careful with the 40 lens. You don't want to damage our slides because if you damage our slides, I will fail you for the entire course in one fell swoop.
This is the other side of the microscope that you didn't get to see a while ago. This is the clip that I keep referring to on the left-hand side. So if I just push my thumb against that clip, that will open up the platform and give room for the microscope slide to fit in there. And then once I get it all nice and snug in the other corner, I just let that go and it rests against the corner of the slide, secures it, so that way, again, it does not move around on me. So that's the clip for your microscope slide that I've referred to in the other videos.
All right, guys, so at this point, we've got a slide on the platform. We've got our 4 magnification lens that's ready to go. And now I need to view what I'm looking at on the slide. So in order to do that, we need to turn to our computer, and our computer is going to have the software that's going to be needed to operate the microscope the proper way. So I'm getting ready to walk you through the motions of how to initiate the software, how to initiate its communication with the microscope, and I'll go through the motions of adjusting the slide on the computer screen so that way you can see that in live action.
All right, so now it's time to learn how to use the software that goes to the microscope. So let's walk through the processes of making sure that the microscope is connected to the software so that way I can start seeing images. First off, the microscope has to be turned on. There's a power button on the back hand side. If you do not see the light bulb turn on the microscope, it's not on. So again, it's a simple little switch on the back side of the microscope that's got to be flipped on. All right, once the microscope is on the computer screen, I'm going to go to this icon on the desktop, and it's called AMScope, A-M-S-C-O-P-E, AMScope. So I'm going to double click the AMScope software, and this is going to start connecting the software to the microscope. And I just really see a blank screen. I mean, that's it, right? Nothing on here at all for me to do. I get no visuals, I get no video, I get no pictures. Nothing is coming through the USB camera at this moment. And that's because I really actually haven't connected it fully. So up here in the top left-hand corner, there is going to be a camera list. And right now, there's only one camera that's in the list, and that is titled MD130. So because that's the only one, that's the one that I need to click on. Go figure. But if we had other cameras on other microscopes, this computer can actually go and connect to many different ones. But this computer is only connected to one microscope. That's kind of how we like to do things here. So I'm going to click MD130, and then this screen shows up. And there we go. So I'm going to see just a couple of seconds of a little bit of movement, things that are going on, and I don't really see an image. I don't really see anything nice and pretty. That's because I've not focused the microscope. So now what I'm going to have to do is go to the microscope and grab a hold of those platform dials and lower that platform down or up and fine adjust it. And then if my image is not directly up underneath the lens, I'm also going to have to move the platform left, right, or forward and backward. I get movement in all 6 directions here. All right, so that's going to be my next step. Now that I see something that kind of looks like that, I'm going to go over to the platform and I'm going to start to slowly pull back away from the lens. Remember, me personally, I like to do the platform all the way up to the top as much as I can. And then I like to back away from it slowly. I think that I get the picture a little bit faster by doing that. And then I start with the lowest lens setting as possible. So as you can see, it just took me just a few seconds to move back away from the lens, and I get something that looks like something now. All of these little red spots are probably blood samples. These spots here, there's nothing there. It's just kind of a void area. Don't really know what that is yet. Don't really care. My job is to get this maybe in focus as much as possible. So I'm going to take the fine adjustment now, and I'm just going to move that backward and forward. You can see how that makes the image fuzzy, and then it clears it up a little bit better. And there we go. It looks like those little red spots that I'm seeing on the screen now is in more focus, and that's really what I'm after. So if I really like that image, and if I think that that image is appropriate, I now need to take a picture of what I see. So over here on the left hand side of the computer screen, you're going to see a record button if you want to record video of things moving around, or you're going to see a snap. And that snap is, of course, a picture. And I need those pictures for my presentation that I'm going to have to assemble. All right, so I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to hit snap. And that takes an image of what we see on the computer screen. And right up here at the top, it has created a tab. And that tab just says 0001. That is the image that you had just now took a picture of. And now we can go up to the top and we can go File, Save As, and then I can save this onto the desktop. That way I can just put everything there, and at the very end drag all of those pictures into a flash drive, and then I can play around with those pictures in a PowerPoint presentation a little bit later. So save it the way that you want to save it. Feel free to save them on the desktop, create you a folder on the desktop if that's what you need to do. But there is our first image that we have taken on the computer screen. Now, the problem here is that most people think this is a live display because it doesn't look very different, but it's not. It's still on 0001. So in order to go back to the live display, I'm going to have to take my mouse and go back over to the tab that says Video. That's right beside of that. And I'm going to click it. And that takes me back to the live display yet again. Otherwise, your view will not change.
All right, guys. So here's a picture, I guess a close-up picture of the software icon that's called Amscope. So that's what we're going to double click on to initiate that software. And then again, one more close-up of the initiation of the microscope. So at the very top left, you will see MD130 that will be listed. You're going to click on MD130, and that is what begins the communication between the software and the microscope that you will be using. You'll also see the snap icon that is here as well, and that snap is what we're going to be choosing when we take these images, one after another, after another, after another. So you need to take an image of 4, 10, and 40. So that means there's 3 images per slide, and I think that there's around 12 or 13 slides that you have to analyze. So you will be taking close to 40, if not more, images within this presentation or this laboratory activity. So get really familiar with the snap button, because you're going to be snapping these pictures left and right, and you're going to be snapping out of the lab because you're going to do it so good and so well that it's not going to take a lot of time at all.
So now the directions are going to tell me zoom in a little bit to get a better picture. All right, so that means I'm going to have to take the turret and I'm going to have to turn those lenses, and I'm going to go 4, and I'm just going to turn over to the 10. And again, give it a few seconds, like 1 or 2 seconds here to settle down and to focus back in on itself. And notice I've changed my lenses and my picture now is out of focus again. It's not a big deal, it's expected, right? I've zoomed in a little bit closer, so of course it's not going to give me the same picture. But here's the magic. Most of the time when this goes on, I only have to work with the fine adjustment tool at this moment. So I'm going to go back over to the microscope, and I'm going to finely adjust it using that small little knob, and now my picture is back and it's nice, crisp, and clear. Maybe it doesn't show that way on the camera, but I promise you it is. All right, so here's the screen, and then again, I'm seeing a closer view of all of these little round circles, and those little round circles are maybe blood cells, and they could be from a human, or they might be from another source. We just don't know, but we're making these judgment calls, and we're kind of helping figure that out. Again, I need to take a picture of this slide as well to prove that I did it. So once more, over on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see the word snap. So I'm going to snap there and crackle and pop. And please, I do feel the crackle and the pop as I get older in age. I feel it in my joints. I feel it in my knees. I feel it in my elbows. I feel it in my fingers. I feel it everywhere. All right, so here is picture 0002. And again, that is a picture. It is there. I just need to go up to the top corner, do File, Save As, save it as something else that you know. So, you know, my initials TH, and then the blood slide here was number 10. So TH10, and then I like to put the lens number after it. So the first one was 4, and this one is 10. So TH, and then I like to do 10 for slide 10, and then I like to follow that, in this case, with another 10, because that means 10 times the magnification. All right? Okay, so once I save that, I'm ready to turn the turret again, and this time go even further down, more magnification, and zooming in even more so with our next step. So in the next video, we'll kind of go through the motions of doing that one.
All right, guys, so you saw how easy that was, but I want to show you another picture before I play the next video. Up here at the very top, your toolbar is going to get very busy. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, every image that you begin to snap will start to save up here at the very top. Now, you can go to File and Close, and that will close and delete that image that you have taken, but please keep in mind, I think it is more... I guess better for me, at least, if I put more organization to this whole madness that's getting ready to happen. So I like to take the pictures first and then immediately save them after the fact. I don't like that toolbar to get so busy that I just forget what goes where or what goes what. So I tend to clean those up a little bit, and to clean those up, you go File and then Close at the very bottom. All right, so that is up to you. If you don't like doing that, then don't do it. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I think is best. And in a way, I am kind of telling you what to do, aren't I?
All right, guys, so now we need to do the the highest magnification power, and keep in mind that one is a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do first, before I turn this around, I'm going to go over to my microscope, and I'm going to grab the button, and I'm going to lower the platform down just a little bit, because I have to. If not, that lens is going to crack up against the microscope slide. So I'm going to take the big adjustment knob, and I'm going to lower that down away from the lens just a little bit, just a smidge. It doesn't take a lot, but I need to get it away from that lens. And then I'm going to slowly grab a hold of the turret, and I'm going to turn the turret around, and I'm going to make sure that that lens does not crash up against the microscope slide. All right, so I'm going to take my mouse, and I'm going to come over to the, again, left-hand side where it says video. That's a picture that I just took. So I'm going to go back to video, and this is going to be my number 10. Notice there's like nothing here, right? This one is going to require a little bit more effort on your part in order to get the image in focus. And a lot of times you're just going to have to play around with it a little bit in order to get that image to show up a little bit better for you. So with that said, I'm going to, in the next video, I'm going to play around. It might take a minute or two, and that's okay. I just don't want to waste your time and just have like a weird, awkward silence during this moment. But I'm going to play around with my adjustment lenses. I'm going to kind of raise it up, lower it, back and forth, making sure my slide is underneath it again. And then sooner or later, I'll get an image that shows up on this computer screen. So in the next video, I'll have that ready. But keep in mind, it might take a few minutes. Don't get frustrated. But some of these are going to be a little bit easier than others on the, not the 4 and not the 10, but on the 40 lens. Okay? All right, so I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, so it took me about, I would say, less than a minute in order to get this in focus. I just really had to struggle with it a little bit. I had to turn the light bulb up a little bit stronger so that way I could see this picture a little better. But now you can see what the difference between 4, 10, and 40 in magnification actually does. So I'm looking closer now at these red blood cells, and I need to determine, is this from a human blood sample, or is this from maybe a different species or something else that we have thrown into the mix? Because let's think about this for a minute. On a crime scene, just because you look like, or something looks like blood and it could have came from a human, well, a lot of things look red and like a blood sample that might not be actually from a human, but from something else. It could be from a pet. It could be from some kind of weird animal that was on the scene. Who knows? But this is going to help us identify, is that blood sample from a human? Yes or no? I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here in this activity. So that looks really good. And again, I'm going to compare that image to a stockpiled manual that we've done. So that way you can compare and contrast and tell me, is that coming from a human blood sample? Yes or no? Finally, over here, again, don't forget, I'm going to go to Snap. And when I go to Snap, that's going to take my third picture, and that picture now is saved, and I need to go up to File Save As, and I need to name it, and I need to save it to the desktop, and then that way I can start saving them or dragging them into a folder once I'm ready. All right, so what will happen is that I'll just repeat the process from here on out. So again, the 4, the 10, and the 40, and I'm going to do 3 pictures of each slide, work with one at a time, and if I run out of time for the day, I'll leave, and I can come back on a different day at a different time and just pick up from where I left off with my blood samples or my blood slides. But we're going to give you a little bit of time to go through all of the slides and take care of these, all right? Again, once more, I can also record any type of images. So if I've got something in here that's like squiggling around and moving, then that's not a big deal. I can actually record a video of that and share that video so other people can see it in their squiggling and moving, if that's something that I want to do. All of these other options are on the computer screen or built into the software. I'm not going to go into any of those. There's some creative things that we can do with the software, but it's not really something that we need to worry with right now. So for that reason, I'll just not talk about it because I don't need to waste your time. All right, so if you have any problems trying to get something magnified or zoomed in, please let us know in the lab. We have at this moment 2 microscopes. We might have more by the time you get into the course, but we've got 2 microscopes that we can kind of alternate back and forth on, and 2 people at a time can be in here working on these. So plan accordingly, ask other people what they're doing in the lab, so that way you don't show up and 2 microscopes are already taken, and there is no time slot for you to actually do the work that you plan to do when you came in. So talk to each other, let each other know when you plan and how long you plan on being with us for that particular day, and then everything will run a little more smoother.
All right, guys, so before I let you go, just a couple of more pictures that, again, I want to share with you. In the last video, you saw me mention, or you heard me mention, that there was a little bit of issue with a light bulb not being bright enough. And the light bulb is here at the very bottom. That's what I was referring to. And there is a way that we can darken this or bring more light onto the slide for the viewfinder and for the computer software. So I'm going to kind of walk you through that process here in just a bit. But to actually turn the bulb like super bright or super dim, it's always going to be better to do that here on this microscope off to the side. So you'll see, of course, the brightest of the bulb will be over on the left-hand side of the picture, and you just turn the dial until you get it brighter, 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 and then the darker the bulb will be over here to the right-hand side. Sorry, left and right. I'm getting them all confused. Oh no, what am I doing? It's too late at night and I can't do this. So that dial will twist and turn and allow you to adjust that.
All right, so the reason that I'm showing you this part of the microscope, this is where the light is coming from, and I just referenced that I didn't have enough light. on the high-powered lens for it to show up an image. And I told you that I turned the bulb up. So I just took a picture of the brightness that we can manually dial and turn the bulb up a little bit brighter, but I also have control of it here. So there's a small little lever that sits over here to the left-hand side, and I can grab a hold of this and I can twist that back and forth. And that will make the platform a smidge darker, and that way I can control it from here, like almost like a fine adjustment tool if I want, versus the dial that's on the right hand side of our microscopes, as you look at them at least. Okay, so I want to change the turret so that way you can see this a little bit closer above the microscope slide. So this is the 4 power, and there's the slide at the very bottom, and you can see how much space is actually between these two. When I turn the turret to the next magnifying power, that's going to be our 10, you will see that that lens gets way closer to the slide down below, so you got to be careful. So at this moment, what I'm going to do is that I know that my next magnifying power is going to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to lower that slide away from the lens a little bit, and then I'm going to turn until the 40, and oh god, barely above the slide. I mean, there is hardly any room at all. I maybe could put a little toothpick underneath it, but that's about it. So a little wood sliver, that is all that's going to fit there between that lens and that slide. If you need to lower this platform down a little bit more, please do so. It's always going to be safer than sorry later, because we don't want you to damage your microscope slides, and that's the thing that you're going to do if you're not very careful. All right, so that's, again, the rule of thumb when it concerns the 40. Please keep that in mind as you begin to analyze these blood samples and these microscope slides. Again, major differences between the length of those lenses.
All right, guys, so I wanted to end it up on that video because I think it's very important for me to tell you again to not break the slides. Again, I should give you an automatic F if you are one of those people that take the lens and crash it against the slide and damage it so no one else can use it. I'm sure that everybody else in the class will be like, woohoo, yay, they broke it, I don't have to read it. And then you're going to be boo-hoo-hoo-hoo in the corner because you're going to get the F. All right, so if you need help, when you come into the lab and you use our microscopes, you'll find me, you'll find someone there that can help you. So just let us know, give us a heads up of when you're coming and what time that you'll be there, and then we'll make a date. And our date hopefully will go very smoothly, and you'll be in and out in a matter of no time, and that way you can take your images and make a presentation. As far as the presentation goes, I want you to keep in mind that we don't need anything fancy. It can just be a very blank PowerPoint with a couple images that are inserted or copy and pasted into the slide. But I really like for the slides to be dedicated to one image only, and I also like for a title to be there present with that image. So here is going to be a person's I guess presentation that they decided to upload and share with me, so that way I can see their work and make sure that they did what they were supposed to do. And that's all that they did. So they just put the image here in the back of the slide, and then they titled it in some form or fashion. So it says unknown number 1 for X, and then they have named it what they thought that it would be, and to them this looks like blood from a bird, not from a human. And then if we go to the next slide, you can see that that is zoomed in a little bit more. It's still unknown 1, but this is 10 times the concentration. And then in the next slide, you're seeing that this is zoomed in even more, and this is the 40 times concentration, but it's still unknown number 1. So that is how this person basically developed their PowerPoint. I think it's easier to do it in PowerPoint. You get PowerPoint for free basically as a student at Cape Fear, so you can use this to your advantage. but I don't need it to be fancy. This person probably used a designer feature that is up here in the very top toolbar. On some versions of PowerPoint, this will be present, some it will not be. But what will happen is that if you copy and paste an image into the PowerPoint slide, you will see that that particular type of image will just basically go into the center, right? There's no design element to it. It's just a picture. It's just there, whatever. If you go up here to the top right-hand side, this version of Excel does have Designer. And if yours has it, I encourage you to get comfortable with it, because if you click Designer up here in the top right, you're going to see that there's different ways that we can present that information. And it just really depends on what you like and what makes you feel good. So let's say that I didn't like this because I thought that that wording was a little small. And let's say that I like something like this, who knows, better. So I just click that option and it just automatically updates the way that that slide is going to get presented for you. And it cuts out a lot of the work. So you don't have to click and drag and enlarge pictures and add titles and do all of that kind of crazy stuff. So literally just start with a blank slide, and then in that blank slide, copy and paste what you need, type what you need, and then go to Designer and let it design the slide for you to make it a little more professional. And that's really it. Just a couple of seconds of work, and that's all that you've got to do as far as the presentation goes per slide. All right, so with that said, if you need some help using PowerPoint or the microscope or AmScope, you know where to find us, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. You will honestly have around 2 weeks. If I extend it a little bit, I'll let you know. But typically 2 weeks is going to be long enough for you to come in, make an appointment, run some slides, save all these pictures, and make the presentation. So good luck and enjoy the microscope.